So welcome everybody to this latest video on 162 Maths, and in this video we'll be going over a practice paper of the AQA Gcse Maths 2022 Foundation Paper 2 Advanced Notice. Now, as always, there is a copy of the paper for you to download in the link below, and I recommend that you have an attempt at these questions before watching this video as we go through the answers. Now, before we get started on working through this practice paper, let's just have a look at the advanced notice given or information given about the paper 2 on the foundation for the AQA exam of 2022. Now, looking at this and looking at the paper, I've kind of highlighted the topics that aren't covered in this practice paper but are on the list. So here we're going to be not looking, there aren't any questions relating to number line decimals, there isn't any prime numbers, I would say, in terms of other related questions. Cube numbers is not on there. Inequality notation, midpoint, ratio to percentages, percentage decrease, better value, ratio to percentage, equation to percentage, rate of output, parts of a circle, and that other ones there. So from doing this paper, I would say those topics aren't really emphasized. So when you are revising, make sure that you do cover those papers, and I'll include some links to videos that do cover each of these topics. So before we get started, just a little reminder that you can access the question paper to the questions we're about to go through by clicking on the link in the description. So looking at question 1, it says state which of these decimals is between 2/5 and less than 1/2, or between 2/5 and 1/2. Now for this particular question, what you want to do is to convert each of these fractions into a decimal, simply because all the answer options are all in decimals. So 2/5 is 0.4 and 1/2 is 0.5. And again, if you're not sure how to do that, all you need to do is just simply type it into your calculator. So for example, 2/5, press equals, press the SD button, and it will convert it for you. So looking at this, we're looking for which numbers appear between 0.4 and 0.5, and the correct answer you should have is going to be B. Moving on to question 2, it says which expression means y divided by x. So y divided by x is going to be option D. Then moving on to question 3, it says here are 8 numbers: 2, 7, 2, 9, 8, 7, 15, 6 and 8, and the question is saying to work out the range. Now to work out the range, all we need to do is take the biggest number, which in this case is 15, take away from the smallest, which is 2, giving us an answer of 13. It then says work out the median. Your final line must say median equals. So again, counting how many numbers there are, well, there are 8 numbers. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I'm not playing hangman. I'm just going to make sure that I don't miss out a number, because obviously that is going to have a major impact on my final answer. So all I then need to do is order the numbers. So I've got 2 and then 6 and then 2 7s, 2 8s, a 9 and a 15. So my median number is going to be between these two numbers. So then I just add the two middle numbers together, divide by 2, and I get an answer of 7.5. Moving on to question 4, it says, so here we've got solving equation. So here I want to solve it for m. So here I need to take away 9. So it's going to be 104, take away 9, which is 95. And then here I'm going to multiply by 7, so 13 times 7 gives me an answer of 91. Moving on to question 5, it says that 5 positive numbers have add up to 96. One of the numbers is a multiple of 3. The other 3 numbers are equal. So it says what are the 4 numbers? Now for this, what we need to do is I would start off with these types of questions by writing the 19 times table. So here what I've got is, if I get the calculator back and I'll work out what the 19 times table is. So if I press 19 equals and then add 19 and press equals, it'll then tell me what the next number is. So 38, and then press equals again, 57, then press equals again, 76, and the last one is going to be 95. Well, it's definitely not going to be 95, but I'll write that down anyway. So that's going to be outstanding. So here what I now need to do is take away these numbers. So it's definitely going to be one of these four numbers. So if I take away the number from 96, well, this one's going to be 20. So here from this, I'm going to do the square number, well, 96, take away the square number. So I've got 96, take away 57, which gives me 39. 38, 96, take away 38 gives me 58. And 96 take away from 19 gives me 77. Now of these numbers, I'm looking for which of these is a multiple of 3, and it's going to be 39. So that means that the multiple of 19, so if I just draw 3 boxes like so, then here it's going to be 57, and if I divide 39 by 3, I'm going to get 13, 13 and 13. Moving on to question 6. So here it says that in a game, a fair spinner has 6 equal sections as shown. Noel spins the spinner, write down the probability he gets to miss a turn. Give your answer as a fraction. So miss a turn here, we've got 1 out of 6 particular areas. So moving on to question B, it says the spinner lands on go back 1 square 4 times in a row. Steve is on the next spin. Write down the probability that he gets to go back 1 square again. So here the answer then is again going to be going back 1 square, which is 1 out of 6 possible opportunities. So for part C, it says in one game there are 96 spins. How many of these spins are expected to go forward 3 squares? Now go forward 3 squares is represented by 2 of the particular section, so it's going to be 2 over 6 multiplied by the total number of spins, which is 96, and if I type that into my calculator, I'm going to get an answer of 32. Then moving on to question 7, it says at a school there are 6 lessons in a day. In total, the 6 lessons last for 4.5 hours. Assume that each lesson lasts the same amount of time. How many minutes long is the final lesson? Your last line should say final lesson equals. So looking at this, what we want to do is convert 4.5 hours into minutes, and that's going to be 4 hours and 30 minutes, and 4 hours is going to be 60 times 4 plus 30, which gives me 270. Now what I then want to do is I want to divide that by 6. So here, if I then do 270 divided by 6, I get an answer of 45 minutes. It then says, in fact, the first lesson of the day lasts longer than any other lessons. The other lessons last the same amount of time. What does this tell you about the length of the final lesson? Well, if more time is going towards the first lesson, all the other lessons are going to be shorter. So the correct answer we should highlight is going to be A. Then moving on to question 8, it says how many minutes are there in 4.25 hours? Well, in 4 hours, there's going to be 4 times 60, which is 240 minutes. And in a quarter of an hour, that's going to be 60 divided by 4, which is 15 minutes, which you may have known already. So all I then need to do is add these two numbers together. So 240 plus 15 gives me an answer of 255 minutes. So looking at question 9, it says that a drawing has a scale of 1 to 40. On the drawing, a scale is a rectangle measuring 14 centimeters by 22 centimeters. A bedroom has an actual area of 500,000 centimeters squared. How much smaller in centimeters squared is the kitchen than the bedroom? So looking at the kitchen, what we need to do first is we need to find the actual area. Now for this, what we need to do is we need to multiply each of these measurements by 40. So the actual measurements are going to be 14 times 40 multiplied by 22 times 40. Now if I word that out on my calculator, so 14 times 40, which is 560, multiplied by 22 times 40, which is 880. And if I then multiply those two numbers together, I get an answer of 492,800 centimeter squared. So what I then need to do is subtract these two numbers from each other. So the difference is then going to be 500,000 minus 492,800, and that gives me an answer of 7,200, and that's centimeters squared. Moving on to question 10, it says that a small square has a length of y centimeters, a large square has a length of 40 centimeters. The area of the small square is 1/25 of the area of the large square. Work out the value of y. So first of all, what we need to do is work out the area of the large square, and we do that by squaring 40 or multiplying 40 by 40. So if I do 40 times 40, I get an answer of 1,600 centimeters squared. So then from this, I can then work out the area of the small square by multiplying this by 1/25. So if I do 1/25 times 1,600, or you could divide by 25, it's entirely up to you, we get an answer of 64 centimeters squared. So that therefore means then that y squared equals 64. So y equals 8 centimeters. It can't equal -8 because we can't have negative length. So y equals 8 centimeters. Moving on to question 11, it says the diagram shows two congruent quadrilaterals, so both trapeziums. It says the height of one is 10 centimeters. The height of the blue is 5 centimeters. Is the area of the blue shading, and then it's either A, half the area of the grey shading, more than half of the area of the grey shading, or less than half than the area of the grey shading. And the correct answer we should have is going to be C. Moving on to question 12, it says that a rhombus is cut along the diagonals to make 4 triangles. Which of the 3 statements is correct for any rhombus? So for this, our 3 correct statements you should have is B is correct, C is correct, and E is correct. Moving on to question 13, it says that the triangle has a base of 9 centimeters, perpendicular height of 4.7 centimeters, and says work out the area of the triangle. The area of a triangle is base times height divided by 2. So if I use that formula, I'm going to have 4.7 times 9, all divided by 2. And if I type that into my calculator, I get an answer of 21.15. Then moving on to, and don't forget the units. Then moving on to question 14, it says that 4 positive whole numbers add up to 39. One of the numbers is a multiple of 7, so very, very similar to a previous question that we've done. So with the first number being a multiple of 7, if we start by writing those down, and then if we then do 39 minus the blue number, then what we end up with is 32, 25, 28, it's no, sorry, 90, 18 it's going to be. Then we're looking at 11, and then we're looking at 4. Now out of these, which are a multiple of 3, and it's going to be this one here. So then your 4 numbers are therefore going to be 21, and then 18 divided by 3, which is 6. So there are our 4 numbers. And it says also work out the result of when the 4 numbers are multiplied together. So what we just then need to do is multiply each of those 4 numbers. So 21 times 6 times 6 times 6 gives me an answer of 4536. Then moving on to question 15, it says simplify this expression. So here I've got 8x. Now with this, I just got to be mindful that when there's no number outside the bracket and it's a minus outside the bracket, we just write a 1. So minus 1 times 4 is minus 4x. But this is where we need to be careful, because here we've got 1 times 3x, which is 3x, but minus times a minus gives us a positive. So then all we then need to do then is multiply this out, well, join the like terms together, which gives us an answer of 7x. Alternatively, what we could have done is just done 8x, simplified what's in the bracket, which has just been 1x, and we still would have ended up with the same answer. Moving on to question 16, it says that in 1 hour a shop sells 180 scoops of ice cream, that the number of scoops of each flavour is shown in the table, and the question is asking us to complete the pie chart to represent the data. Now for this, what we need to do first is to work out the angles. Now before we do that, let's first of all add up the total number of scoops that we have, which has been told in the question, which is 180. Now, if we then compare 180 to 360, we can see that we can just multiply the numbers by 2. So here for the angle, so if I just write the angle, don't really know where to put it, so let's just put angle here. Then all I need to do, the formula that I need to use is that the angle equals the frequency divided by the total times 360. Now with this, all I need to do is multiply this by 2, because again 360 divided by 180 is 2. So if I multiply each of these numbers by 2, I should get the angle. So 70, 120, 130 and 40. Then from this, all I've then got to do is do this. Now each section on this is 10 degrees. So for chocolate, it's going to be 7 sections. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, so it's going to be there. Then for strawberry, it's 12 of them, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Then for vanilla, actually let's just make that a little bit more accurate. The should be using a ruler. Then for vanilla, it's going to be 13. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. And then for mint, it should be 4. And I just write mint there. And there we go. Moving on to question 17, it says that here is a right angle triangle and we need to work out the value of y. So for this, what we need to use Pythagoras. So labeling our triangle, label C first, which is always opposite the right angle. Then we've got A and B. So here we've got A squared plus B squared equals C squared. So I've got 8.2 squared plus 12.3 squared equals Y squared. Now entering this on the calculator, I end up with an answer of 218.53 equals y squared. So then y equals the square root of 218.53, and to 1 decimal place it gives me an answer of 14.8 centimeters. Then moving on to question 18, it says that a competition took place in 1983. It takes place every 6 years. What is the first year after 2045 will it also take place? So for this, if I get my calculator and just reset that. Now if I start by entering the original year, which is 1983, press equals. And then what I then want to do is add 6, because it's going to be every 6 years. And then if I just then go a little bit crazy with the equals button, I'm looking for the first number that goes over 2045, which is my next one. So the correct answer we should have is going to be 2049. So looking at question 19, it says that a map of an island is shown on a ½ centimeter grid where A and B and C are houses. Now for this question, because it is a scale drawing question, depending on how you are viewing this question and whether you've printed it off and the size of whether it's on A4 or A5, will have an impact on this answer. So for this question, what I've done is I've measured the distances of A to B and A to C as it should be. So I would recommend that you use these measurements for this answer. So looking at this, it says the actual distance between A and B is 960 meters. Work out the scale on the map, give your answer in the form of 1, 2. Now for this, what we need to do first is we can see that the actual distance is given in meters. So what I need to do first is I need to convert 960 meters into centimeters. So I do that by multiplying by 100. So that's then going to give me 96000, so 96,000 centimeters. Now for this, what I then need to do is I need to divide that by the distance on the graph, which is 2 centimeters. So if I divide that by 2, I get an answer of 48000. So here then the scale is going to be 1 to 48,000. It then says work out the actual distance between A and C in kilometers. So for this, I know it's 3.3. So if I do 3.3 centimeters, I then multiply that by 48,000 and I get an answer of around, let me just type that into my calculator. So 3.3 multiplied by 48,000, I get an answer of 158,400 centimeters. Now what I need to do is I need to convert that into kilometers. So if I divide it by 100, that's going to give me in meters 8400 divided by 100. So that's going to give me 1584 meters, and then I need to convert that into kilometers. So if I divide that number by 1,000, I get 1.584 kilometers, and there is my final answer. Then moving on to question 20, it says simplify fully 4a squared plus 8a plus 2 minus a squared plus 9a minus 3. So for this, what I need to do is look at the like terms. So I start off looking at the a squared. So I've got 4a squared minus 1a squared, which leaves me with 3a squared. I then look at the a's, in which I've got plus 8 plus 9, which is plus 17a. And then I look at the constants or the numbers, and I've got 2 minus 3, which is minus 1. And then factorizing, well, looking at both of these two terms, they've both got 28 numbers, so it's 28 and 24. What's the biggest number that goes into 28 and 24? Well, that's going to be 4. Both terms have got a y, so I take the y out. What do I need to multiply 4 to get 28? Well, I need 7, and I need another y. And what do I need to multiply 4 to get 24? Well, that's going to be 6. And I've got a y and a 1 to y, so that there is my final answer. Moving on to question 21, it says solve x squared equals 256. So all I need to do here is square root 256. But what you do need to remember is that when you're square rooting, you do have a plus and a minus value. So here, my answers are going to be x equals minus 16 or positive 16. You could write your answer like this. So any of those would be absolutely fine. But you do need to make sure that you are identifying that there are two possible answers, values of x. So looking at question 22, it says that a spinner has 5 equal sections. Write a number in each section so that the numbers are all different factors of 50. The probability of a single digit is 3/5. The probability of a multiple of 25 is 1/5. The smallest number goes in a sector with the arrow on it, and the numbers increase in size as you go clockwise. So first of all, let's start by writing the factors of 50. And they are 1, 2, 5, 10, 25 and 50. So the 5 numbers have got to be 5 of these 6 numbers. Now the probability of being a single digit is 3/5. Well, I've only got 3 single digit numbers, so this must be 1, this must be 2, and this must be 5. It then says that only one of the numbers is a multiple of 25, so it's either going to be 25 or 50. So in this box here, I could write 25 or 50. And so therefore, this square here must be the remaining number, which is 10. Moving on to question 23, it says that 2 ordinary fair dice are rolled. Complete the diagram. So here, each branch needs to add up to 1. So here, if the top one is 2/3, then 1/3, then this is going to be 2/3. That's going to be 2/3, and that's going to be 2/3. Part B then says work out the probability that both of the dice land on a number less than 3. So both land on less than 3, which is going to be following this route. So it's going to be 1/3 times 1/3, which equals 1/9. Moving on to question 24, it says that here is a small cuboid and a cube. The small cuboid and cubes are stacked in layers to make a larger cuboid. Here is a cuboid made with 4 layers. The pattern is continued to make a cuboid with a volume of 512. How many cubes are used? Your final line must say number of cubes equals. So for this one, let's first of all work out the small cuboid in terms of the volume. So from this, what we've got is we're going to do 8 times 2 times 2, which gives us an answer of 32 centimeters squared. Now from this, what we then need to do is work out, well, how many layers are there going to be in 512? So from this, we can then see that we then do 512 divided by 32, because that is the volume of one. This is the volume of one layer. And that gives us an answer of 16. So it's going to be 16 layers. So that means that there are therefore going to be, so if there's 16 layers, then 8 of them are going to be 8 layers of 4 cubes. And so here from this, then the number of cubes is therefore going to be 8 times 4, which is 32. Then moving on to question 25, it says the table shows information about the population of a city, and it gives us a population in 2001, population of 2011. And the question is asking us to work out the percentage population increase from 2001 to 2011. Now here, the key thing to remember when you're looking at percentage increase or percentage change is that it's the difference divided by the original multiplied by 100. So here the difference between the numbers is going to be 510,000 minus 430,000, which is 80,000. So that if I then do 80,000 divided by the original, which was 430,000, and multiply that by 100, I get a percentage of 18.6, and that's to 1 decimal place. It then says that the population increase from 2011 to 2021 is predicted to be 17.3. In the table, write down the predicted population in 2021. So here, what I've then got to do is simply multiply the population in 2011, which is 510,000, multiply that by 1.173, because we're looking at percentage increase. And if I get my calculator out and do that sum, so times 1.173, and the reason why it's 1.173 is because I've got 100% adding 17.3%, which is 117.3%, and that as a decimal is 1.173. Press equals, and I just need to write down that number. So here we've got 598,230. Moving on to question 26, it says the diagram shows the position of a tap when off and fully on. When fully on, the water flow out the tap is 18 litres per minute. The rate of which water flows is directly proportional to the angle of the turn, and the tap is turned to 126 degrees. The water flows into a tank with a capacity of 115.92 litres. How long in minutes will it take to fill the tank? So for this, what we need to do first is to work out the flow per minute of the tap when it is at 126. So for this, we need to do first 126 divided by 180 to work out what the proportion is going to be, and we multiply that by 18 to see how many litres there are flowing per minute. And if I type that into my calculator, I get 12.6 litres per minute. Now, if the tank is 115.92, so then what we need to then do is do 115.92 divided by 12.6, and that gives me 9.2 minutes. And I'll leave my answer as that. Moving on to question 27, it says, in a choir there are 27 men and 60 women. The probability that a man chosen at random wears glasses is set 4/9. The probability that a woman is chosen at random wears glasses is 7/12. Work out the total number of people in the choir who wear glasses. So for this, what we need to do is work out fractions of amount. So for this, for the men, it's going to be 4/9 times by the total of men, which is 27, and that gives me an answer of 12. For the women, I do exactly the same. So I look at the fraction, multiply that by the total, and I get an answer of 35. So then the total number is going to be 35 plus 12, which gives me an answer of 47 people. It then says the person is chosen at random from the choir. Work out the probability that person does not wear glasses. So not wearing glasses is going to be the total, which is 87, take away 47, which is 40. So then it's going to be 40 divided by 87, and that is my final answer. So not wearing specs. So moving on to question 28, it says that Sid starts with savings of £13. Tim starts with no savings. Each week from now, Sid saves £3.50 and Tim saves £3. It says, in how many weeks will Sid and Tim have savings in the ratio of 17:9? Now for this, it's what we need to do for these questions is actually recognize the 17 times table and 9 times table. So if I start by setting this question up, so I've got Sid and I've got Tim. Now in week 0, Sid has £13 and Tim has 0. So in week 1, Sid is going to have an increase of £3.50 and Tim is going to have an increase of 3. So from this, I've got 16.5 and I've got 3. Now neither of those two numbers are in the 17 and the 9 times table. So again, if you're not sure about what numbers are in the 17 times table, again we can use our calculator to work that out. So here I've got 17, 34, 51, 68, 85, 102, and I don't think it'll go that far. For the 9 times table, I've got 9, 18, 27, I've got 36, 45, 54, 63, and these are the numbers I'm looking for, and this is for Sid and this is for Tim. So week 2, I'm then going to add £3.50, so that's going to be 20 and that's going to be 6. After 3 weeks, this is going to be £23.50 and this is going to be 9. After 4 weeks, it's going to be £27 and £12, and again neither of those are in my list of multiples. After 5 weeks, it's going to be £30 and 50p and 15. 6 weeks, we've got 34 and we've got 19. And as you can see, that those two numbers do appear. I've got 34 and I've got that should be 18, not 90. I don't know why I've written 19 there. Let's change that to 18, and there I've got my 18. So this then is the correct answer. So it's going to be after 6 weeks. Then moving on to our last question, it says the straight line has a gradient of 5 and passes through the point 6, 37. Work out the equation of the line. Now this value of 5 is our m, 6 is our x, and 37 is our y. So what we need to do is we need to find c. So substituting those numbers in, what do I get? Well, I get 37 equals m, which is 5, times x, which is 6, plus c, and all I've done there is I've substituted into y equals mx plus c. So substituting that in, I get 37 equals 30 plus c, so therefore c equals 7, and then what I've then got are my two values. So then using these two values and using y equals mx plus c, I get y equals m, which is 5x, plus c, which is 7, and there is my final answer and the last question on this paper.